A young man runs through the woods, firing at something behind him. He trips and falls, and ends up being swallowed by a floating, illuminating green glob. A Norwegian valley called Hestdalen was just an ordinary mountain valley until inexplicable lights were sighted in the sky. The inhabitants filmed it on tape and scientists from around the world were on it, but the lights remained a mystery. Stein Liongo, an administrator and lead scientist at the Hestdalen Observatory, is engaged in an interview with a YouTuber. They enter a cave and end up discovering a closed path. It leads to an empty space where they find green goop smeared on the rocks. Suddenly, a green glob shoots out of an unidentified object and onto Stein, who then develops strange behavior. Sebastian Borgnes, a hedge fund manager, sits in his office, rehearsing for a perfect presentation. His friend and co-worker, Auden, promises him a thrilling bachelor party at a cabin in Hestdalen. He adds that it would be fun if they solve the Hestdalen lights mystery, but Sebastian insists he cannot go out of town due to his weekend schedule. He cares about his work goals, which he has spent years working for, which his friends, Auden and Pell, agree with. But unfortunately for him, Sebastian fails to land a potential investor named Casper Kjelland with his presentation. Casper finds it basic and expects out-of-the-way pitches, like ones aided by DJs and alcohol shots. So Sebastian spontaneously offers him such an experience at his bachelor's party. He breaks the news about the unfinished pitch to his fiancée, Josephine. She is, however, much more excited to see a teen Sebastian on the front page of an old newspaper. He and his best friend, Mikkel Steger, were an outstanding laser tag duo, who made it to the World Cups with their "What Time Is It?" tactic. Sebastian is uninterested in his buddy's whereabouts anymore and begins planning his own bachelor party, not wanting any trouble stirring up that day. Auden, with his overwhelming excitement, and Pell, with his funky outfit and a rusty minivan, reassure Sebastian that they will party until the investor is satisfied. Casper shows up in his cool car with a customized slang word feature installed in the engine compartment. He gifts Sebastian a bear onesie that he cannot refuse to wear. Sebastian is surprised but not so delighted to see Mikkel join them, but the subtle hostility does not seem to be reciprocated. Mikkel was invited by Josephine and he hits it off with Casper and the others pretty quickly. They arrive at the valley, where locals are camped. The locals are suddenly attacked by Stein and a few others with an alarming green glow in their eyes. At the cabin, the group plays Who Knows the Groom Best and Mikkel seems to get all the right answers. He gives away embarrassing childhood stories and plays good music, hyping up the lousy party. Sebastian is upset at Mikkel for being a show stealer, and because there has been no progress in impressing Casper so far. Mikkel shows Sebastian his brand new laser pistol from Japan, hoping they could have a few rounds, for old time's sake. But Sebastian turns him down and asks him to tone it down and stop the awkward storytime instead. A seemingly possessed Stein watches over them. A pregnant police officer named Hannah visits the UFO Tour's office to investigate a missing beer fridge report. The owner, who is also her father, suspects it to be the occasional robbers. The next day, Auden suggests they take a private guided tour of the intriguing Hestdalen Observatory. He assures them that the mystery lights are probably just bioluminescent reactions as per Stein's theory. Nevertheless, they decide on paintball. Casper's supercar breaks down and he hops in Pell's old van too. There is nobody at the paintball station, so Mikkel suggests they pick up equipment from the open supply booth and just start playing. They lock their phones to ensure no distractions and gear up in two teams. Auden shoots Casper first, making him a sore loser. Sebastian tries to shoot Mikkel in an attempt to reset the game but ends up knocking out a random man instead. They fear he's gone, but as they touch him, he wakes up with blazing green eyes and charges toward them. Mikkel knocks him out with his paintball gun. Auden tries to excuse the green eyes as a reflection of some sort, but Mikkel asserts it to be a zombie-like behavior. They try to flee the station, but Pell's vintage van is missing the motor. Casper has had enough and plans to call a cab, but their phones have disappeared too, just the cases left behind. They decide to head to the observatory, which is closer than their cabin, equipped with paintball guns and Mikkel's laser gun, or as Casper calls it, his toy. Casper advises Sebastian on choosing the right group to surround himself with, more nutritional vegetable people, instead of chew and spit cotton candy people like Mikkel. They arrive at the deserted observatory, and Mikkel bravely decides to head in first, along with a reluctant Sebastian. They skim through the strange items and find a telephone, but it's deceased. Sebastian finds a map of the light phenomenon theory while the others outside spot Stein and the guy with the mullet who attacked them earlier at the paintball station. Mikkel finally finds a working telephone and dials the police, reporting the weird zombie man, instead of the motor and cell phone theft. The police officer, Hannah, thinks of it as a prank call and hangs up. Hell sounds signals to warn Sebastian and Mikkel, and they both stumble down to a basement in an attempt to hide. Stein orders the mullet guy to throw the corpse he's carrying down there along with the others. The two almost get caught but pretend to be deceased too. They witness Stein's telepathic conversation with the mullet guy. She seeks to find those at the cabin at any cost. As soon as they leave, Sebastian and Mikkel rush out, and Mikkel fills in the others with his thoughts that this horrendous situation has most likely got to do with aliens. Still trying to work up good favor from Casper and wanting to give him a good time as he promised, Sebastian bails on his friend's story, insisting he didn't see any of the sorts and that Mikkel's blabbering is the reason the cops won't help them. Mikkel brings up the corpses, but nobody is ready to believe him until Sebastian finally speaks up. They notice a tourist bus, full of people, come to a stop due to an engine failure. All of a sudden, the green-eyed people get on the bus, and there's a huge flash of green filled with screams of terror. Now that they've all witnessed it with their own eyes, they start to believe that aliens are truly behind it. In a moment, they are all ambushed by similar people. A man among them speaks gibberish that nobody understands, and as they try to defend themselves with the paintball guns, the people flash their green eyes, and the chasing begins. Sebastian trips and falls, and almost gets eliminated, but Mikkel saves him by shooting the man with his laser gun. A green glob shoots out of the man's head and floats above, immediately diving for Sebastian. But another shot from Mikkel and it dies, splashing gooey slime all over Sebastian's face. Sebastian and Mikkel barge in at the sheriff's office, and insist that they saw the aliens. She doesn't believe them, but they find out the mullet guy whom they knocked out at the paintball station has a twin, most likely the one they saw at the observatory. Officer Hannah thinks they are hallucinating due to drugs. She cross-checks with her teammate and he asks to hold them up until he arrives. She locks them in a room. On the other hand, the other three are still in the forest, running from the alien people. Just as Auden and Casper think they have escaped, Pell runs to them with a mob of greens following him. As Mikkel increases the beam intensity in his laser gun, he gets into an argument with Sebastian about fighting off the aliens. Sebastian dislikes his constant action hero roleplay and doesn't understand his obsession with their old days. Mikkel just wants to celebrate with his buddy and remember the old times, especially when they get an opportunity to use their laser tag training to defeat an alien invasion, which Sebastian thinks of as a stupid idea. Mikkel learns that the bachelor party was arranged to benefit Sebastian's work stuff, so he calls him boring and grumpy, unlike himself, who's living a great, fun life, still playing laser tag on weekends. Sebastian mocks him for playing with kids and Mikkel fires back at him for being a bootlicker. Hannah's teammate arrives with one of the mullet twins and Mikkel shoots at his head, eliminating the green glob in a splattered mess. Officer Hannah believes them now and starts interrogating the mullet guy, who claims to be normal, but it takes one low-intensity laser shot to know that he's not. He admits that he has a light blob inside him which is a signal from an intergalactic light pulse. Hannah deems this to be a useless fact, as opposed to the information that there is a load of corpses at the observatory. She tries to call up higher officials, but a bunch of alien people set up explosives at the observatory and blow it. The network signals disappear and all telephone lines die. Hannah's teammate Benjamin wakes up, back to normal, and warns them that the aliens are out to get everybody. The three others have been abducted and shipped in a truck along with washing machines and other stuff. Casper blames Pell, taking out his frustrations on him. But despite his harsh words, Pell comforts him, assuring him that they will make it through together. Sebastian and Mikkel assume the others have been captured by time, and seek a plan. Sebastian notices a map and recalls a place that was marked on the observatory map, which turns out to be an abandoned mine. He thinks of something and they drop off Hannah at a safe place, that is, her father's tour office, where she plans to alert the police or the army. Even though it's dangerous, she lets Sebastian and Mikkel go fight and take down the aliens in a laser shootout. They hand her a gun and take off in her car to Pell's van for more equipment. Sebastian awkwardly apologizes to Mikkel, and they both regain their infamous laser tag spirits. As Mikkel distracts the greens with the siren, Sebastian retrieves the guns and vests. Mikkel knocks off a couple of them with his car, which is disapproved of by Sebastian. They decide to go to the paintball station first and then head up the hill toward the mine. They put on the armor vests and prepare the guns, but unluckily, they can't understand the manual, and the voice commands are all in Japanese. They take on a bunch of alien people at the paintball station, but failing to decipher the constant turning on and off of the armor, they lose the upper hand. When they end up being completely surrounded and outnumbered, Mikkel convinces Sebastian to use their old tactic of what time is it. They spin around in clock hand formations of particular times and shoot laser beams. This unique strategy helps them miraculously dominate the fight, and as they slowly begin to understand their armor, they discover laser grenades and put them to use. At the tour office, Officer Hannah argues with her father, Jorg, because she doesn't need his care and protection now. She needed it when she was younger and he wasn't around. The lights go off at the same time a high school tour bus arrives and the locked gate is no longer powered. Jorg goes in to fix the fuse, but is seen suspiciously surrounded by green goop. Casper is furious, discovering his beloved car seized by the greens. They are taken inside the abandoned coal mine where a lot of unusual items are brought and placed, like washing machines, dryers, and engines. They watch as a fellow captured man gets a green glob shot onto him, turning him into an alien person. Sebastian and Mikkel arrive at the mine, following the mullet guy. Casper's supercar's engine does not have enough power. Trying to negotiate with Stein, Casper offers 10 more such engines. He even backstabs Auden and Pell, but Sebastian believes it to be part of his plan. Mikkel asks him to snap out of it and stop defending Casper. They plan to attack but get their vests stripped off and their guns are taken away as they join Auden and Pell. The next target is Auden. He gets dragged and gets converted into one of them. Sebastian is shocked and helplessly blames himself for it all. Mikkel protests and they both solve their differences once and for all, although it seems like it's too late. But Sebastian soon thinks of a plan and asks to talk to Casper. Meanwhile, the teenage alien people swarm like bees, trying to get through the door as Officer Hannah and her teammate, Benjamin, try to protect themselves. She can't get the laser guns to work when suddenly her water breaks and her father, possessed by the green glob, tries to strangle her. She gets rid of the light in him and begins to shoot the teenagers with lasers, aided by Benjamin. Sebastian tells Casper he will help him escape as he knows the engine is one of a kind, and he cannot get 10 more anyway. But when Casper wants to leave the others behind, Sebastian makes up his mind. Even though Casper offers him a job at his company, Sebastian asserts that he prefers cotton candy. He puts in the trigger to the slang word feature, but ends up inviting the master of the aliens. It's a huge monster with multiple eyes. Hell shoots paint at him and distracts all the aliens as Sebastian and Mikkel reach for the guns. Sebastian tries to activate the lights out button on the vest, but it doesn't work unless it's been shot by the other gun. Seeing Mikkel on the brink of death, Sebastian manages to shoot the vest and a laser explosion illuminates the whole place. It knocks out nearly every alien person and the master suffers quite the damage. Before it could harm Sebastian or Mikkel, Auden fires lasers at the master. He yells at them to leave, but Sebastian is not ready to leave without him. Mikkel forces him out and they are soon pushed by strong green illuminated forces as the crafted spaceship kicks off the ground. Sebastian and Mikkel fall to the ground and survive, along with Pell, who watched the spaceship take off. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for Auden and Casper. Officer Hannah makes up with her father and he takes her to the hospital. 3 months later, Sebastian and Josephine celebrate their wedding with a game of laser tag. Sebastian and Mikkel, the expert duo, have started a laser tag business together. Hoping they have Auden's blessings, they all raise a toast to him and begin their journeys full of miracles and lasers. In a tag scene, Auden and Stein team up in outer space and plan to kill time until they reach their home planet.